Welcome to AI Podcast. I'm Ethan, and today we're digging into a NeurIPS 2025 paper called PAC Bench. The big question is simple. Do foundation models actually understand the prerequisites a robot needs before it tries a manipulation task?
Love a clear opener. Give me the punchline first. What did they find?
Bottom line, today's vision language models are not reliable at checking the basics. They can recognize some simple properties in an image, but they stumble on the real decision makers like stability, reachability, and occlusion. And when you ask them to list everything an object can do, they almost never give the full set.
So they know a few facts about the world, but they don't know whether the move is actually doable. That's the vibe.
Exactly. The work is led by Atharva Gundawar and Sagar from Arizona State University, along with collaborators.
All right, set the stage. Why does this matter for robots?
Think of a robot as a careful home chef. Before it cooks, it needs a prep checklist. Is the jar sealed? Is the knife safe to grasp? Is the counter clear so nothing topples? Those checks are prerequisites. A lot of recent robot systems use general-purpose models to reason about scenes, but we have not tested whether those models actually understand these pre-flight checks.
And PAC is the pre-flight exam?
Right. PAC stands for Properties, Affordances, and Constraints. Properties are what an object is like. Affordances are what you can do with it. Constraints are whether the move is feasible in this moment. If I say, pick up the mug and stack it on the box, the model should know the mug has a handle and a certain shape, that it can be grasped or stacked, and that stacking will fail if the box is too small or the mug is unstable.
Got it. What did previous benchmarks cover and what did they miss?
We've had great tests for physics quizzes, video prediction, and even end-to-end policy success. But those either stay abstract, like textbook physics, or skip straight to the final score of a full task. What was missing was a surgical diagnosis of the prerequisites themselves. PAC asks, does the model actually understand the ingredients list and the safety checks before you let the robot act?
Nice metaphor. How did they build the exam?
They put together a mix of real images from the web, scenes captured from a humanoid robot's point of view, and structured simulation setups. Then they asked carefully phrased questions. For properties, multiple-choice questions like, is this container likely sealed? For affordances, list what applies, such as graspable or pourable. For constraints, they ask feasibility questions, like can this object be stacked on that one, and why or why not?
And they compared different model families.
Yes, a representative mix from the big labs and open communities, some with reasoning modes turned on. Same prompts, different camera angles, and both web-style shots and robot eye-level views.
All right, results time. Start with properties.
Properties were the least bad. Some models do all right on things like whether a cap is on or whether the orientation is obvious when looking at clean web images. But performance drops when you switch to the robot's viewpoint. Change the angle, change the lighting, and the confidence takes a hit.
So even basic traits are brittle when you leave the glossy internet photos.
Exactly. Now, affordances. If you ask for at least one correct affordance, a few models do okay, but when the task is to name all the relevant affordances, performance falls off a cliff. The models tend to say the most obvious thing and stop, which is risky, because a robot might need the less obvious option to succeed safely.
That feels like asking a student to list the steps in a recipe and they say, chop the onions and forget everything else. Technically true, but not dinner.
Perfect analogy. Constraints are the real pain point. When the question is about feasibility under real-world limits like occlusion, reachability, geometric mismatch, or stability, accuracy is often tiny. Models frequently miss the reason the action would fail, and the errors get worse when you move from simulation to real robot views or simply change the camera angle.
So sim to real and even view changes break them.
Right. A model that looks okay in a sandbox scene may falter in a cluttered kitchen from the robot's eye line. Reasoning modes helped a little in a few spots but didn't fix the core issue.
Let's slow down and define those three categories again with a household example. I want the robot to pour juice into a glass. Walk me through PAC.
Properties. The carton is full, the spout is closed, the glass is empty and upright. Affordances. The carton can be grasped and tilted, the spout can be opened, the glass can contain liquid. Constraints. The glass must be reachable, stable on a flat surface, wide enough for the juice stream, and nothing should block the pour. If the model misses any one of those, you get a sticky floor.
Right, and a very upset kitchen. Quick question. Could these failures just be prompt engineering problems?
The authors use standardized prompts across settings, so while better prompting might yield a small bump, the pattern is consistent across models and scenes. This looks like a representation gap, not just a wording issue.
What about the data? Anything we should be cautious about?
A few things. The data set is sizable and well curated, but affordance labels are still evolving. Some parts rely on single-pass annotations, which the authors acknowledge and plan to expand. Also, because the evaluation used hosted models, versions can change over time, which makes exact replication tricky unless you pin specific snapshots.
That's the reality of API models. They improve, they drift, and your leaderboard can shift under your feet.
Exactly. There are also small differences between public summaries of the dataset and the specific evaluation subset. Nothing alarming, but teams should cite the exact release they use.
What does this mean for practitioners? If I'm building a warehouse picker or a home helper robot, how should I use this?
Treat PAC like a safety gate. Before you trust a model to pick and place, test whether it can pass the properties, affordances, and constraints checks on your own scenes and hardware views. If it fails, add guardrails. For example, use simple physics checks or kinematic reachability tests alongside the model's judgment, and prefer multi-camera setups so the robot sees what the model struggles to infer.
So a hybrid approach. Let the model propose, but let physics dispose.
Nicely put. And on the research side, there are a few promising directions. First, stronger annotation protocols so affordance lists are comprehensive and consistent. Second, physics-aware supervision that teaches models to respect constraints like stability or clearance. Third, agent-in-the-loop evaluation, where a model's PAC judgments actually gate simulated or real rollouts. That way we can see if higher PAC scores translate to safer execution.
And probably more robot-centric training images and videos, right? Not just pretty product shots.
Absolutely. The view sensitivity in this paper screams for multi-view, robot eye-level data, and richer geometric cues. Depth, pose, contact. The things a robot really needs.
I'm thinking of a simple sanity check any team could try. Put a mug half off the edge of a table, a small bowl nearby, and ask the model if it can safely stack the mug on the bowl. If it says yes without noticing the overhang, you know you need a constraint check in the loop.
That's exactly the spirit of PAC. Find the failure mode before it becomes a mess.
Quick nod to the authors again. Atharva, Gundawar, and Sagar at Arizona State University and team. It's a clean framing, simple idea, sharp diagnostic.
Totally. And it reframes progress. Instead of only celebrating a flashy demo, it asks whether the model can pass the boring but essential pre-flight checklist.
All right, give me your 1-minute takeaway.
Here it is. Vision language models can recognize a few obvious properties, but they rarely capture the full set of what an object affords, and they are weak on the constraints that decide if an action is safe and feasible. Those weaknesses get worse when you move from curated web photos to the robot's real viewpoint. Use PAC-style checks as gates, add lightweight physics and reachability tests, and train on robot-centric, multi-view data.
And my ad. Treat these models like bright interns. Helpful, fast, great at first drafts, but they need supervision and a checklist before you hand them the keys to the warehouse.
Exactly. That's PAC Bench in a nutshell. If you're building manipulation systems, this is your reminder to trust but verify.
Thanks for listening to AI Podcast. If you want us to break down another paper, send it our way.
See you next time.